Hi, my name is Ashish, and in this video we will see configure sensitivity labels in Microsoft Purview. As we all know, sensitivity labels are used to classify email messages, documents, sites, and more. When a label is applied, either automatically or by the user or by the admin, we configure the sensitivity labels. The content or site receives protection based on the chosen settings. For example, you can create labels that encrypt files, add content marking, and control user access to specific sites. The protection settings we as an admin select for this label are immediately enforced on the files, email messages, or sites to which they are applied. Labeled files are protected wherever they go, whether they are saved in the cloud or downloaded to a computer. So to configure a sensitivity label or the configuration of a sensitivity label, you need name and description, encryption, content marking, site and group settings, auto labeling, and then you have to review your settings. Let me share a screenshot with you, and then we will log on to the portal to go through the steps. This is the chart that I was talking about. Step 1 is name and description. Step 2 is encryption. Step 3 is your content marking. Step 4 is your site and group settings, which is still in preview. And then step 5 is to auto labeling for the Office apps. Then you review the settings in the last step. Okay, so when you configure a sensitivity label in name and description, you add the name, you add the tooltip that will help user understand this label purpose, you add a description. So let me just quickly log on to the portal and take it from there. So here you see the homepage of compliance.microsoft.com. You can initiate a sandbox environment, instant sandbox, using the Microsoft developer program. Unfortunately, this is on hold at the moment from Microsoft, from the backend, because some of my friends are trying to create it, but it says that it gives the message that you're not eligible, right? So just keep an eye on it, and then you can configure and do the labs. All right, so if you want to do the data classification, you come here and you click on overview. It gives you the trainable classifiers like we have discussed before, sensitive information type. So it will give you a sandbox environment where you have 25 users created. You can use them, create your own. It would have a license as well, E5 license, that you can use and do the labs. But I will only go with the configuring the sensitivity labels. Okay. It says, so I came under information protection labels. If you want to see the overview, you can do that. Label and protect PDF files, turn on PDF support, no activity detected. This is a sandbox environment, so you will see very less information here. You come on labels. These are the by default label: personal, public, journal, confidential, highly confidential. You want to create a new label, click on create a new label, enter a name. I can do my test label 1. Display name. This is the name your users will see in the apps where it is published. You can, for the lab purposes, I will do the same. You can click on information sign to read more info about it. So this is the name of the label your users will see in the apps where it's published, like Outlook, Word, SharePoint. Be sure to come with a name that helps them understand what is it used for. A tooltip, description, priority, encryption, right? A description for users, you can mention that is helpful for admins who would manage the label. So I would say mention the creation date here if you want to. Scope of this label. So it will apply on files, emails, meetings, group end users you want to specify, configure privacy, access control, and other settings to protect label teams. Okay. You can uncheck on which you don't want to apply. You can check all if you want to apply. Choose protection settings for labeled items. Configure encryption. We talked about encryption, right? So this is the step in the creation process which is used to determine who can access files and email messages that have this label applied. Right? So this goal is achieved by configuring encryption settings. Encrypting the most sensitive documents and emails helps to ensure only authorized people can access this data. Encryption remains with the document wherever it goes and on whatever device it's accessed from. Encryption would use the Azure Right Management Service, RMS, from Azure Information Protection. So configure encryption and content marking settings to protect labeled items. Apply or remove encryption. Control who can access items that has this label applied. Apply content marking. Add custom headers, footers, and white marks to items that have this label applied. Click on next. Again, control who can access items that have this label applied. So, right, configure encryption settings. Right. So when you come under encryption, you click on encryption. You want to apply, you don't want to apply, or you want to remove the encryption. So I say configure encryption settings or remove encryption if the file or email or calendar event is encrypted. If I want to access it, but if I want to, it will remove the existing encryption if the user is applying the label has permission to do so. So if I want to configure it, assign permissions now or let users decide. Let user assign permission when they apply the label who can access this data. Okay, if the encryption is applied. In Word, PowerPoint, Excel, prompt users to specify permissions. It says choose one of the predefined permission levels, specify the users or groups who those permissions apply to. You can use double key encryption as well. I've not enabled double key encryption. I've not read much about it. If you want to go and read more about it, you can. So it says for regulatory reasons, you can use 2 additional keys to secure your most sensitive documents. You manage one key in Azure RMS and the other key in the double key encryption service. I am not going ahead with it. Let user decide. You click on next. In Outlook, enforce one of the following restrictions. Okay, it says because this label is scoped to both files and emails I selected in the previous step, right? You must also select in Outlook enforce permissions. Okay, here enforce one of the following restrictions. Do not forward. When users apply the label to an email in Outlook, recipients will be able to read the message but not forward it. Right? I don't want that. They should forward it. They should encrypt only as well. So in the Outlook, email is encrypted and recipients must be authenticated. Recipients have no restriction except they can remove the encryption. Okay. Add custom headers, footers, and watermarks to content that has this label applied. So next step is content marking. If you let me go to the previous step. So if you see the encryption, I am assigning the encryption here, assign permissions. So this will turn on the encryption which will impact Office files, Word, PowerPoint, Excel with this label. Since files are encrypted for security, performance is slower when the files are opened or saved. Some SharePoint and OneDrive features might have also would also have limited functionality or be unavailable. The encryption settings you choose are enforced when the label is applied to email and office files. That is why I got this option, that it was not validated, because I was not selecting this option. So when we have assigned permissions now, there were two options here, right? So when you select these options like assign permissions now, selecting these options means the encryption settings chosen are enforced when the label is applied to email and office files. Okay. When I assign, let users assign permissions, it means that it will give the user more control over what happens when the label is applied. These actions vary based on if the label is applied in Outlook or if it is applied in Word, PowerPoint or Excel. Selecting this option results in additional configuration choices presented in the next list. That is where I got let user decide, and then I got, if I want to go with in Outlook enforce restriction equivalent, or I wanted the do not forward option. Okay, so in Outlook I should at least go with one option here. The restrictions enforced are equivalent to the don't forward option, and the user is prompted to specify permissions. That is why I selected encrypt only. And when you select remove, I don't want to configure encryption setting, I want to remove encryptions. Remove means encryption is removed from the files and email messages with this label applied. So I've not tested that if I apply the encryption or if I apply a sensitivity label, and on top of that if I apply another label on the same set of files and I say remove encryption, so it removes the encryption but it has still the label applied. That is what I have not tested. It will be a good exercise to do for all of you if you want to test it. Step 3, like I came back, but then content marking. Content marking would add custom headers, footers and watermarks to email messages or documents when the label is applied. You want to go ahead with it. These marks are visible to all the user. Content marking doesn't protect the document in any way. It only informs the viewer of the sensitive nature of the contents, that this is a sensitive document. Okay. It has a watermark, header, footer. If you select content marking, add a watermark, add a header. You can customize the text as well if you want to. Totally depends, discussion on how do you want to take it. Okay, I am not going ahead with content marking. Auto labeling in for files and emails. So it says when user edit Office files or compose, reply to or forward emails from Outlook that contain content matching, the condition you choose here will automatically apply this label or recommend it that they it themselves. So this is the auto labeling part that we were discussing. So if I don't select it, I am applying label manually. But if I configure a policy, if I configure, a new sensitivity label and say and enable auto labeling for files and emails, in here I would add the content creates group operator, right? As well, we scroll down, the condition when the content matches this condition. I want to automatically apply the label, display this message to user when the label is applied, your document is protected, or whatever you want to decide and go ahead with it. I'm not enabling this option. It says define protection settings for groups and sites. These settings apply to teams and sites that have this label applied. So when you create a sensitivity label in the Microsoft Purview portal like I'm doing now, you can apply them to the following containers. So let's say I do control the level of access. I'm not getting this option because it might be in preview, but it's not written here. I need to check it. But let's go with auto labeling for schematized data assets, which is, so if it was in Purview, it should have written here. I'm not sure why am I not able to select group and sites option. So review your settings and finish. Okay, your settings, you I can uncheck that. I'm keeping it really simple. Perfect. Okay. The point was to show you the steps on the portal, how you create a sensitivity label and discuss the different parameters that comes into picture and the options that you get when you are creating a sensitivity label. So your sensitivity label was created. You click on done and that is how you do it. So in next video, we'll talk about the label policies. And if you want to read more about, you can also go ahead and read about the privacy of Microsoft 365 group connected team sites and auto labeling for Office apps. So we'll discuss in the next video. I want to show you more about how you publish the label that you have created. Okay, I hope this was informative for all of you guys. If you have any further queries, please mention them in the comment section and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Have a good day.